Hi, I'm Noel Bentley, and I'm the host of TEDxBearCreekPark. We'll be having our event on Saturday, March 27th. And today we have speaker Lizzie Allan with us. Good morning, Lizzie. How are you?
Good morning, Noel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you. Lizzie is the creator and co-founder of Hilarapy. She's a professional comedian and a registered transpersonal counselor. And Lizzie, why don't you tell everyone who's watching a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, so yeah, I'm a self-styled comedy therapist, and I'm building a community, a healthy community around comedy and telling our stories through humor.
Right. And tell us a little bit more about how you got to that. What led up to you, with your
Yeah,
vocation?
absolutely. So I have been into comedy since I was a child. We laugh a lot in our family, and that brought a lot of relief because life was difficult sometimes. You know, both my parents really struggled, and so comedy became something that I kind of dreamed of doing as a job when I was older. I mean, I saw sketch shows. Sketch comedy was something that just got me, but stand-up comedy was my way in. And when I eventually got the courage to go on stage and do stand-up comedy on the comedy scene, it was terrifying and lonely and toxic. And I say that a bit because it was a kind of drinking environment, and you really had to work to get people to kind of accept you. And it didn't feel safe. So I started to put my own shows on, and I took out the element of alcohol, and I just invited all my friends, and I invited my community. And then I started, I did comedy writing and performance at university as well, a degree. And so then I used that to create a model where we could infuse therapy and humor into a process that would actually make our comedy mean something and help other people.
Right. And you're kind of getting to the point where you're starting to touch on your idea. Can you give people sort of an idea of your idea without, too many spoilers here?
Yeah, I want to show people how to turn or transform shame into comedy and make a difference. But I want to show you how I've done it and what my shame was. So yeah.
Oh, fair enough. And you've been doing this for a while.
Yes.
And you've tried, yeah. How long have you been doing this? And it's sort of changed. Like what you've been doing has sort of your Hilarapy is more of a newer project and sprung from something else.
Yes. So I started doing comedy when I was 25, so 15 years ago. I know I don't look 40. I look like a 12-year-old boy. I get it. I started doing comedy when I was 25. That's when I really started to do writing and performing and learning about comedy. And then I went to university when I was 31 and studied and got a comedy writing performance degree. And from that, I I became I started to do comedy therapy, and I began it in England. I started as addictive comedy, and I did it for the recovering community. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I should make that clear, which means for me that I haven't had a drink or a drug in over 11 years. And I am part of a worldwide community of people who no longer partake in drinking and drugging. And there's just a sort of whole community of people who just don't really want to go and sit around alcohol or perform around alcohol. And so I really found my niche in England. And when I moved out here, I started again, and this time with my partner Elaine, my co-founder. We started it and rebranded as Hilarapy because everybody wanted to come, whether their problem was social anxiety or whether it was, addiction issues or mental health issues, or just, like, oh, I've been through cancer and it was really hard. So we just wanted to make it sort of universal because it works for anyone with any story. And then I retrained out here as a therapist as well. So I'm a registered transpersonal counselor as well, which has added a whole nother level to the therapeutic processes that we use. So yeah, I mean, that's where we are today, and we are, branching out.
Yeah, branching out a lot, and you have your hands in your fingers in many different pies, which leads to the question, why do a TED Talk? Why invest this amount of time to get up on stage and do that?
Well, I've got pies on every finger. There's a visual for you. I'm heavy-handed. I love TED Talks. TED Talks have changed my life, and if I can share my idea, which is so simple but very underused, then I'm happy if one person goes, oh, my difficult stuff could actually help other people, and with a really simple process as well. So yes, TED Talks have changed my life. I love TED Talks. I watch them a lot, and I've watched them since they came out. Do you want to know my favorite TED Talk?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm railroading your interview. My favorite TED Talk, and this changed my life. It's The Person You Really Need to Marry, and it's by Tracy McMillan. And it absolutely changed my life, because a few years ago I was abandoning myself a lot. And we do that, when we go through trauma as young people. And I think I really got to just make this really clear. Nobody escapes trauma. Being alive is traumatic, okay? So that said, I found I was abandoning myself, and I watched that TED Talk, and I won't give it away, but it changed everything for me.
Oh, fair enough. And are there any others that have resonated with you, or are there any subjects that you find yourself gravitating towards when you're searching through the TED Talks online? There's so many of them.
Yeah. There's one that's also fascinating, and it's I can't remember the exact title, but it's like psychosis versus spiritual awakening. So that one is an amazing TED Talk as well, about a chap who was studying shamans all over the world for 25 years, and then stumbled on this finding of, the way we treat people with psychosis in the Western world, as calling it an illness, putting them in hospital. And as a person who has spent extended period of time in psychiatric care, that in my earlier days, when I was 19, that one absolutely does speak to me, and I find fascinating.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. And people are going to come see your talk, where you're going to, maybe expose them to these ideas, and one central one, of course. But what are they going to do afterwards? Are people going to be able to take something away from your talk immediately and start working on it, or at least experimenting with it, or at least taking a step in their own life?
I would hope that my talk would have the effect of giving people hope that it's okay to reframe difficult lived experiences and find humor there. And also to understand that whatever it is that we have gone through on a personal, private level, that it's the human condition, it's part of being alive. It's what we signed up for. It's never, ever going to be a bed of roses from birth to death. And I think we get caught up in that sometimes, thinking, I should always feel good, and I should always be good, and I should always never make mistakes, and I should be perfect. And it's not true. And actually, when we can kind of find our humor there, but also to really dig deep and find our healing in the same breath, that can be a phenomenal shift in thinking and being in the world.
Oh, fair enough. And we're just wrapping up here. If you wanted to convince people, say, hey, I really want you to come, and give you those 15 seconds for that little halfway elevator pitch, what would it be?
I would say if you like to have a little bit of a giggle, but also a roller coaster ride of emotions, and cry, laugh, shrug, all in the I don't know where shrug comes from, but I'm trying to think of something that comes in between crying and laughing. I suppose, shrug. It's completely up to you whether you come and see my talk. We all have a different audience, that much I know. But if you like comedy and you have a sense of humor, then I guarantee you are funny, and your story can absolutely change the world and make a difference in other people's lives. But I hope to see you there.
Perfect. Thank you. I know, and it's so hard not to use the language of a live event, but to be clear to our audience, we're pre-recording our speakers, and the broadcast is going to be March 27th. That's TEDxBearCreekPark 2021. We have complimentary tickets this year because we have generous sponsors who are able that we can put it out to the world. In fact, we're aiming for 10,000 people minimum to be there. So we want you to be one of them. And you can go to TEDxBearCreekPark.ca to register and get your link to see the event. And with that, I just want to thank you very much, Lizzie, for joining.
Thank you
today.
For me and the Golden Girls. Goodbye.
Yeah.